Pasada, if we could have roll call.
Thank you, Commissioner Henderson. Commissioner Batterson?
Here.
Commissioner Carey?
Here.
Commissioner Burtnett?
Here.
Commissioner Henderson?
Here.
Commissioner Velasco is absent at this time. Thank you.
The minutes of the July 11th, 2017 Commission meeting have been distributed. Has everybody had a chance to read through those? Are there any questions or concerns?
No.
I read and moved to accept them.
I'll second.
Then they're approved as distributed. I don't have any public comment slips, so is there anything that needs to be turned in? All right, moving right through, and then I don't see that we have any presentations this evening either. So, are we moving too quickly, Mr. Posada?
No, that's good. That's good.
We'll go right into new business, item 5A, the youth sports fields. If you have a report for us?
Yes, actually, Mr. Davis is going to
Oh, I'm
give you
sorry.
the report, but basically what we asked the commission for last meeting was the ability to go ahead and kind of reactivate our group so that we can start moving on to the next level. So I'm going to let Jim talk to you a little bit about kind of the idea and the plan, and then glad to see a few of our members of the community here that are having interest in that soccer field program. Jim?
Before tonight is asking the commission to revive the sports field committee. We met back in late 16, made recommendations for the multi-use sports complex that was going to be at the corner of Stoll and Depot. We received word that we did not receive the funding that we'd requested from the state. So what we're looking for is reviving the committee to take a look at the current fields, whether they're city fields or school district fields, combination of, and see how we can improve those fields, and then also work with the school district to try and increase access for the youth groups until we're able to secure a multi-use facility. We've got a couple members here present that were on the field committee. So that's what and then what we would do is go through, and the initial committee did an inventory of fields, whether it was a usable field or it was just too small. Like some of the schools have tracks in the middle, elementary schools have tracks in the middle of them. And what we'd be looking at is saying, okay, this field needs to be leveled, whether it be a city site or a district site, and then what to estimate, prioritize which fields could be used for practice and matches, and then look at trying to find secure funding to make those improvements through various means yet to be determined, but trying to improve those so that we the leagues have places to practice and play their games and matches. So that's what's before you.
Thank you, Jim. And so what we're going to ask for today is to go ahead and have the commission reactivate that committee, appoint 2 members to that committee, and then we will call the members of the public together and then start looking at these fields again. Right now we have a small amount of money available to do some field renovation work. So that's where Jim is talking about prioritizing which fields could we get playable, right away, and then what they would take. The longer issue or item is still to address the school district field availability and how to work with them to figure out a way to make the public access easier. And the last, correct me if I'm wrong, Jim, the last comment from the district was, yes, our fields are open to the public as long as they meet our criteria for access to the fields. The criteria for access to the fields seems to be the biggest stumbling block, for some people. So trying to figure out a way to come up with some creative alternatives to that. What those are, I don't know yet. But that's why we want to get the committee back, put some heads together, and see what we can come up with.
Great. Questions from the commission? Commissioner Patterson?
What I've noticed when I've been at the schools is most of the fields have a lot of problems with gophers in particular. So would the city be providing, you know, the money to, you know, take care of the Gophers?
So we would work with the district on, there are a lot of restrictions as far as, I say restrictions, a lot of state laws and requirements as far as creek gophers, but one of the things that we've found that we've been able to use it is, it's a, kind of like a converted backpack blower, and they take and push the exhaust into the tunnels. And it's one that, you know, we don't have traps sitting out there that somebody can get into, or we've got debate issues or those type of things. So it's something that we've been very successful with. And that's something, you know, we're looking at working with the district on how we might be able to incorporate some of that.
I would think if we're providing some type of help to the schools to refurbish their fields, they would be more willing to let us have access to them.
We're hopeful. I mean, that's some of the solutions that we need to talk about.
Yeah.
I mean, ideally, you know, even if we were to have received the grant and started building the project, you're still talking, you know, 2 years down the road. What happens in the meantime? So this is timely either way. You know, hopefully we'll find some other way to come up with the money for the soccer field complex area. But in the meantime, we still have to address the lack of field space. And not just soccer, but certainly if we can close the gap or open the gates to the school fields, you know, it'll be for all sports.
Further questions?
I want one of those blowers.
So the local shop, a lot of fast rebels.
No, I think it seems like a win-win. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a prudent thing to do.
So we need 2 commissioners to serve on that committee. Ideally, 1 would do, but 2 is always better.
I'll volunteer.
Very good.
Thank you,
I
Commissioner
had
Anderson.
a few questions.
Sure.
As always. The last committee that met, you say in late 2016, about how many people were on that committee?
I think we had about 12. We had representatives from each of the different youth sports, and then also Representative Scott Roy from the elementary district.
Right.
And then we had Commissioners Grennan and Velasco. And then, so I think we had around 12, 13. And then a couple other people who attended regularly.
Do you anticipate that most of those members would be interested in continuing on the committee?
Well, what we do is put out, I've contacted those that have been, some of them I wasn't able to get a reach, but see, at least their organization, you know, the president may have changed. You know, sometimes they say, hey, we want the president, and now we're into some new seasons that they may have elected somebody else. So, but definitely be looking at a representative from each of the organizations.
Okay. And then how often do you anticipate meeting or needing to meet?
And part of it will depend on the work, but you know, starting out probably probably 3 times in the first 2 months. So, and then kind of see where the progress goes and what we need to do from there.
Okay.
May I ask a clarifying question?
Certainly.
I'm sorry, Jim. So the committee you're asking for right now is just for assessing the current field availability now. We're not yet talking about looking for funding for the Stoll and Depot.
That, staff will continue to look for funding for Stoll and Depot. What we're trying to do is find that, I'm going to use the word stopgap, how we can
Bridge.
meet the needs, bridge the gaps that are right now for practices. That seems to be the major issue, is lack of practice space with whether it be Little League Baseball or soccer or youth football, those type of things. So it's,
So the committee members, this particular committee will be looking for spaces, or they will be assisting in assessing the spaces that we know exist?
We've already done an inventory of the fields, city and district, and so we'll be going in more in depth as to what needs to be done at this each location, if it's a feasible space for practice or matches, to make it playable. Like you indicated, Gopher holes, there's a lot of irregularities over the years, so.
You know, I'll volunteer,
Okay.
okay?
Oh gosh, it just went out of my head.
Sorry.
Oh, no, it's okay. The committee, so then would it fall under, would it be a subcommittee of one of our existing, or just in it of itself.
It would be a committee of itself that
Okay.
you as the chair are appointing the commissioners, and then we'll
Right.
look at the community members.
Okay, okay. Then I've got Commissioner Batterson and Commissioner Carey. I know Commissioner Velasco was involved beforehand. She might have an interest in attending as well. I think it'd be fair to open it up to her as well, but I think if you're interested, I think that would be great. Fantastic.
I know Rick Velasco indicated for the meeting, he had a couple comments, and I know he didn't submit a speaker slip, so I don't know.
Oh, sure, that'd be
And
great.
maybe he's changed his mind, maybe I've covered everything.
Please.
But I've never heard Rick turn down an opportunity to speak.
Well, thank you for allowing us to be here to begin with, and thank you for establishing the committee. We're passionate about having the kids play and have fun. That's what we've been trying to do for the last few years. As we all know, we don't have field space, I call it open space, to maintain these kids playing almost year-round nowadays. It's not only soccer, it's volleyball, rugby, everything else that's coming out of lacrosse. So we need that open field development too. We are, before the commission, we were here before. We actually did a great job, trying to find the facilities that were available. The only problem is that you're still constrained, but limited spaces, one here, one there, one there. So, to schedule that and for the games, matches, and everything else, it's very hard to do that. So the complex, it will be nice to have,
Certainly.
not only for ourselves, but also for the community. As I mentioned months ago, the community will actually, we could generate lots of millions of dollars on weekends when we have tournaments. And, we could fill out the restaurants, gas stations, and everything else, including parking for the parks department and such. But there's a lot of economic impact when you look at that. So we like to energize ourselves again and try to do something for not only for the children really, but also for the adults. The adult community is also lacking, playing fields. And when we go out there on Sundays, we see those guys just trying to decompress, and not enough fields to do that.
Right.
So it's not only for the children and the youth, for the community, but also for the adults. And that will keep us healthy and out of the jails and everything else. So thank you for having us.
Amen.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. I know that the department's working very hard on looking for the next step on that, and perhaps that's something that this committee can also continue looking at as well as we try to meet the immediate needs.
Yeah, and that's one of the goals as well. It's not a major item that Jim talked about, but one of the ideas is to continue to identify funding sources. So we're going to have this group kind of looking at that stopgap measure, and then we'll continue with Teresa's staff, who works on the grants side of things and applications with funders. We'll continue that side too. Rick has a good resource list of potential, funding agencies that we can start looking at. What we have to do is hopefully take our application that we provided to the state and mold it to whatever the requirements are for whichever grant happens, grantor happens to be out there. So that'll kind of be our next step, is to dissect that grant. And just for the update, the state has another grant program through their land and water conservation program that we are taking the application that we submitted, reworking that application so that we meet the criteria within those specifications. Those are federal dollars that are passed through the state, and they deal with land conservation, which is open space, and then water conservation, which might mean some basin work there on our site, but it gives us some options for funding. So we're working on that application. I believe those applications are due later in the year. That is another potentially multi-million-dollar. The last one was $1 million. That was the maximum cap. This one has, I believe it's up to $5 million in available funding. Now, all that being said, it all depends what happens with the current administration in Washington as to how much money they put aside for Department of Interior Projects, which funds the Land and Water Conservation Program. So we'll see, but we're getting ready for those kinds of things.
Right. Very good. So would you like action on this, or the appointing is?
You're appointed is fine. That's the action that we needed.
Very good.
And Jim will follow up with the groups, and we'll get back up to the drawing board and come up with some ideas. One of the things that I think we are going to need, and again, it's something that you all will maybe lobby your council members on, is working with the school board to emphasize the importance of what we're trying to do, and the fact that we are willing to partner, which may end up having benefits, as Commissioner Patterson said, that, if we're able to team up and get rid of the gophers on a school site, it just doesn't help the
Right.
after-school user, it helps the whole school day program,
Right.
because you don't have to worry about your kids going out and playing kickball and falling in a gopher hole out there. So there's some mutual benefit to this, and I think that's kind of the way we need to look at partnering with the schools and coming up with some ideas. So,
Very good.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for coming out again.
Thank you. You're welcome to stay for the excitement, or leave and we won't blame you. Moving on to item 6 on the agenda, old business. Mr. Smitherman has an update on the Arts Master Plan.
Good
Oh, wait a
afternoon,
minute.
Commissioners and Ted. Thank you for being here today. We have some exciting news. We are slated to take the Master Art Plan to City Council on September 19th. We hope that you can be there, and before that, talk to your council member and really make them aware of the plan and the proposed ordinance. Alex and I, Rick Hayden, Gil Trujillo, and Phil Single met and have gone over the revisions, the proposed revisions that have come through, and we'll be looking at presenting those options to City Council on the 19th. A couple of the changes that we have been discussed since the creation of the plan and since you've seen it last is some variables in the percentages of the ordinance. So when we left here last year, earlier this year, we had talked about a 1% fee for new development and 1% for commercial and 1% for municipal projects. And that was the recommendation that you had made. The Planning Commission has come up with a different recommendation, and their recommendation was to put this fee on all building permits, and it was going to be at 0.5%. For everything from a $20 water heater to a multi-million-dollar project. The municipal 1% would stay the same, and commercial would too. So what we're putting together right now is options for the council to review and look at, and we are able to use the 2016 numbers based on the permit valuations to show them what each of those would look like, all the way down to a 0.25. 0.5, 0.75, and a whole percent. So we're just waiting for a total of the municipal projects that happened in 2016. And I have a feeling there was none, so it's not going to be too difficult. And put that in a nice little graph, and then we're making the same presentation to City Council that we made at the Planning Commission with some slight changes, including the different options that are available.
Any questions or comment?
What time is that meeting?
Right now it's 6:30. It may be going to 5:30.
Yeah.
The council is considering moving up earlier 1 hour, so.
Okay.
I think, just to kind of close up Dennis's comments, I think that one of the things that this is going to be we want to come out with a win-win at the end of this project. And I think that the ordinance itself isn't really the issue. The issue is the fee and who should be paying that fee. So one of the discussion points was that it's not fair to new development to just make them pay this fee. Hence the Planning Commission's suggestion that, well, then everybody who pulls a building permit should contribute towards the art fund, So that's kind of spreading the cost across more permits. Of course, the valuation of those permits, from a $20 water heater to, $1 million shopping center is quite different. But the point is that, the argument that was being made is that new development shouldn't have to pay for art that is going to serve people who have been here for a longer period of time. So this helps kind of level that playing field a little bit. There are other options to consider, and that's where Dennis was talking about, that we are going to meet again with the city manager's office and the city attorney's office to kind of talk about how we could pull something together, and the planning department, pull something together that is palatable for the council members to consider and hopefully support.
Great. Questions? I was wondering if it's possible, before September 19th, if we could get an email copy of the updated plan with the revisions, just so that if one of us were to attend, we know what's being proposed.
Yes, hopefully everyone will be able to attend, and I will be happy to send you the master plan itself hasn't changed. The ordinance, we will keep pretty generic right now until the council approves it, but I'll also include the presentation that will be made, and it will show the options that will be available to the council. And I should have that ready hopefully by the end of the week, and we'll get that to you. Again, just waiting for a couple of members to and get that finalized and get that sent out to you for review. And again, open any questions after you read it.
Great. All right. Thank you, Mr. Smitherman. Moving on to item number 7, informational reports. We have the July budget update from Mr. Smitherman again. I didn't bring the new one. Thank you.
Thank you. Double checking the
That's
math
better.
this time, 2 or 3 times. We are 8.33% of our year. We're currently under budget by 1.71%. You'll see that our high departments are the youth center and the Paul Nelson Aquatic Center, and that's because we are in the height of summer and all of our programming. So nothing to be alarmed. It's seasonal and very typical. Thank you.
Any questions about that? Thank you. Keep that if you want. Then noteworthy activities. The July report was included in our packet. Busy as always. Oh my goodness, I can't keep up at all. Anything anybody wanted to add? Ms. Rayburn?
Yes. Summer, we had a great Safe and Strong program again this year. We had a really good group of leaders, so that always helps, of course.
Right.
And it ends on Friday, and you're welcome to come to the youth center, because what we like to do is keep everybody enthused and energetic for the next group. And so we will have our sponsors there, we'll have some light hors d'oeuvres, and at 1 o'clock, Logan, I'm sure, will be down to join us also. Thank you so much. And so thank you for your support of that program. Now, we don't let much time pass because we're already looking at the school program. So that will be 3 to 4 sites, and we've already run the spreadsheet for that. Right now, we've served 22,000 kids. That's for each visit, and that is attributed to many things. This time, we did a survey, and I put them on your desk. They're adorable. They're like, we like this the most, we want this, we want this, we want this, so it's so cute. And the other big thing that the youth section had was, we are dramatic, and we had another dramatic play this year. So it was The Lion King, and it was really great. Little kids to teenagers, very, very great. All the shows had about 150 people, so it's great. We're having fun. Any questions?
What day is the 1 o'clock event that you talked about?
It's this Friday, July 11th,
This
August
Friday?
11th.
And it's at the,
It's at the Abel Maldonado Community Youth Center.
I have a question.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. Commissioner Karen.
Did you guys happen to film the Lion King? Because that would be so cute on cable access.
Oh, that's a great idea. I wonder if we did. I'm not sure that we did. We'll need the licensing. We already paid for the licensing for the actual play, but I think you need another permit to air it.
Right.
But too bad we couldn't make it a fundraiser.
Good idea. I just had a question about the teen programs, just in general, how well attended they are. It sounds like the cooking class was full and lots of participants in the teen trucks and teen trails, but I was just curious about who attends? Is it a lot of repeat customers? What's the outreach like? Do adults in the community recommend kiddos that could benefit from this? How does that kind of work?
Well, we put everything in our recreation
Right.
guide. And with the teen group, we do more things such as social media. And the teen tracks are always a very popular program because as working moms, and you'll know about this soon, your kids want to be going places, and unfortunately, we have to work. So that's a really popular program. The cooking class exceeded our expectations. And we're trying to work with collaborative partners. In fact, we have a meeting with the Community Action Commission on Friday to talk about collaborations between the county and the youth center. And the mayor's task force is really helping us reach out to those different partners. And there's a synergy that's starting to grow. So we're looking forward to see where that lands.
Great, great. Yeah, they sound like great programs and something that would benefit just about any youth in that age bracket that's so desperate for those after-school summertime activities. And
Transportation is still a big issue.
Right.
It's a nut that we have to try to crack at some point.
Okay.
Right now, the trolleys are doing the wine tours, but the federal regulations don't allow them to do a youth bus for some reason, so that kind of needs to be switched if possible.
Anything else from the update? I had a question too. I just wanted to clarify. We have the All America City Award on the 15th, and I was told that Commissioner Burtnett would be presenting that. I just wanted to clarify. And
That's the 15th of this month?
Yes, at the council meeting. What we talked about doing is instead of having the people do duplicate duty and come to 2 meetings,
Right.
is that the commission could also present during the council meeting. So if you, as many commissioners as want to be, can be there
Right.
for that purpose. So we invite you all to come. Commissioner Burtnett was on that committee, and so he would be like the logical person to help present it, but certainly you're all welcome.
I would be more than willing to give you the honor because you are the you are the president of our board, so I'm happy to let you do that if you wish.
I was told that you would like to do it, and so I haven't put it on my calendar. It is the first day of school, and I'm not really sure I would be your best candidate on that evening. I'd be a great participant, but kindergarten's rough the first day, so if you wouldn't mind.
Kindergarten would be rough for me every day, so. So
First
6:30,
one's really.
15th.
Yeah, if the time changes, we'll let you know, but I don't believe it plans to change before that meeting. I think it's going to start in September or October, I believe, so we should be good.
Cheer you on. Very good. Then moving on, item 7C, Director's Report. Mr. Posada.
Pretty brief, just to kind of let you know that we are moving forward. I asked Jim to quickly recap the Buena Vista Park project for you, so I'll let him do that.
This morning, with the engineering department and special projects and Newton Construction, who is the company that the award, construction award has been presented to for the Buena Vista Park project, we met on a pre-construction meeting, went over the reporting requirements and federal requirements as funding is from the federal government. The couple of things they're waiting on a grading permit, and once they get that, they'll finalize the timeline and submit that to Roger Rolls, who is the engineer heading up the project from the city's end. And hopefully within the next month, we'll start seeing work beginning out there. That's the goal that they have. They just need to finalize a few, cross some I's and dot a few T's, and they're ready to go.
Great.
So that's, again, with the last meeting, we did have some speakers come and ask about the status, and that's where it is. obviously, I think we were all hopeful that we would be under construction by now, but things take time, so we'll be moving ahead with that. The other information that we received was that we were awarded a grant from the Community Housing Development.
Housing related parks.
And so we got a grant for
34.
yeah, somewhere around there, $230,000 for Russell Park. So Rosie Narez and I from Special Projects and Roy Tinente from the Parks Division will be meeting with our architect on Thursday on the site of Russell Park to kind of look at what alternatives there are there. There are a few things the Park Division would like to see changed on the site so we can operate it a little smoother. There's been talk about whether or not a restroom is needed there. We tore a restroom down several years ago because of the problems that we were having there. And now may be time to maybe come back with something. So we'll let you know how that goes. That project, again, may take some time, but we know we have the funding for the playground component of it anyway. So.
This was the first year we did a Safe and Strong program there, and it really exceeded our expectations. There was a lot of kids out there. And with the help of Jim Davis, we went out to talk to the kids to see what they wanted to do. There wasn't a lot of parents there that day. Some of the food programs actually feed the parent too. And so we're going to knock on the doors and give them flyers and let them draw little pictures of what they would like.
Fantastic.
So construction-wise, I mean, those are the ones that are out there. We did receive our permit for the Enos House Foundation from one department in the city. Now we're waiting for the grading permit to come from the engineering department. Building and planning gave us a permit for construction of the foundation. We received the estimates, the engineer's estimates today, which is the company that comes up. That foundation will be just over $100,000 to build the foundation.
My goodness.
And then the last step for the developers of the project will be to actually have the house placed on that foundation once it's built. So we're hoping that we can go out to receive price quotations from local contractors to build that foundation. We're hoping that our engineers' estimates are high and will come in a little under $100,000. And then build that. That's probably no more than a month project once they get going, and then get the house placed on the foundation. And then, like I said, the owner of the development there will be off the hook. He's done with his part of it once the house gets placed. The overall park design and construction will come later. Right now, the house placement will be there, and that'll be the main part of this phase.
Great.
And I believe that's all our projects. Jim?
Well, forgot to mention, we're looking by 1st of September to start the replacement of the playground at Grogan Park. We've got the playground in. We're just trying to coordinate with the installer. Summertime's his busy time trying to get everything in the schools and things, so he said things will slow down here in this month and school gets back in session. So we're hoping to get that started in September, and that should be about a 4 to 6 week project.
That's which one?
Grogan.
Grogan. And then Armstrong is one?
Armstrong.
Armstrong, still waiting, we're still waiting on the, we've got it ordered. We've been able to do that, but there's, so that's where, haven't got the, let's see, when do we order that? Probably around mid-September when that would be in, so.
Okay. Yeah, and that one, again, your timing, it's federal money, so you have to wait for certain triggering events to happen before you can spend their money.
Right.
So we're in the queue for that one.
Good. I'm sure everybody will be excited to see that go in.
I believe that's it for me. Thank you.
Okay. Then moving on to item 8A, official business conducted by a member. Does anybody have anything to share?
I do.
Commissioner Carey? It's always busy.
So I was able, I was at City Council for the proclamation last month. I guess it was today's August 8th. I'm sorry, whenever it was. Oh, July 18th, the City Council meeting. It was the proclamation for It's National Parks Month, correct? It's national? Because I'm like well versed in it. It's been since 1985 that it's been, July has been National Parks Month. So we received it, and here's our proclamation. So I did that. We had two great people that were our past volunteers, and they spoke. It was really a nice experience. It was a busy night though. I think that's it for official business. I have some other things, but I guess I might as well just say it and get it out of the way. I live right by Jim May Park, or not right by it, but that's like the local park, and I walk over there a lot. And the biofilter, everyone's probably familiar with the biofilter project, and it's almost complete, and the landscaping is in. It's beautiful. So I just want everybody to go check it out because it's so. Have you seen? It's amazing. Yeah. So I just wanted to mention that.
Have they installed the informational panels that tell you what it's all about? They were supposed to do a
There's
project.
like a bronzy, yeah, it's really nice.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
But I highly recommend people go take a walk around the water there because it's,
I just go to the playground.
yeah, you'll get yours.
Where near the lake is it? Because I know where that, I walk around that.
It's between the school and the
Okay.
water.
Okay.
So it's over there. It's really beautiful. And the landscaping is superb.
Great.
And that's what mostly.
I attended the July 19th Planning Commission meeting where Mr. Smitherman presented the arts plan, and he did a fantastic job. It was well attended. People from every facet with the arts community was there, obviously, homeowners, people passionate about the arts, the builders were there. The thing that I took away from that was the positive energy towards having a plan. Every single person in the room was in support of a plan. I think everybody wants to see the art in our community, which was wonderful. Who could say anything bad, but generally somebody's always got something to say. But it was great. The turnout was great. So just as Mr. Posada said, the concern is the fee, how it's paid for, and like he said, this is how it's done. This is the way communities do it, and obviously the builders had concerns that were voiced, but I just wanted to reiterate how important it is that we attend on September 19th. Mark it down, because the commissioners really took to heart the public comment. They reiterated what they heard from the audience, from the public, because they're public servants, and I think that a lot of their decisions are made based on what they hear, because it's important what the community has to say. And I was very pleasantly surprised at the discussion that happened with the commissioners, and how they really took to heart everything that was said. So I'd just like to encourage everybody to go, because I think the more that they hear, not only from us as commissioners, but as community members and neighbors and parents and homeowners that are going to be paying permit fees and having or not having an issue with it, I think it's important that if we can't go, then get somebody in our stead, because the opposition are few, but they're very vocal. And so I think that we need our side on there as well. So thank you, Mr. Smitherman. I think that the plan is fantastic, and it's changed in an interesting way. But I think that I'm very optimistic about next month's meeting, and I think we'll do well, but it's got to be well attended. So it's my 2 cents.
Also to add to that, we need to lobby our council people.
Yes.
FYI.
Yes, definitely. And thank you for the reminder on the other end, on the sports field. I hadn't really thought about that. So it's a good nudge, because I think it's important that, yes, nudge, nudge. Anything else under 8B? Or from anybody?
Oh, I have one. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Last week, I attended the National Night Out. I don't know if it's really a fun event. The police put it on, and they have all their cars and toys, and a lot of nonprofits are there. It was really fun. And there were some holes. I know this is, universal. There were holes in the grass, and I was walking with a mayor and a council person, And when one of us stepped in the hole and said something, they said, well, you're the commissioner, you need to take that to the commission. So for whatever it's worth, it's out there, okay?
Very good. All right, then, we will adjourn to our next regular business meeting, which is Tuesday, September 12th at 4 o'clock. Thank you.